You are watching SBTL Webcasts, your companion to NEET examinations.
Modern man. The name for modern man in biology is Homo sapiens sapiens. Man, the wiser, the wiser. The wisdom of man has no limits in past 100 years. Man reached the moon. Man has sent satellites in the space. Man has reached up to the manipulation of ultramicroscopic molecules within a cell. Man, the wiser, the wiser. But is this wisdom enough? Is our pragmatism really worth it? Are we really pragmatic, or there exists some paradox? The question remains. With almost 4.7 million forest cover lost in between 2010 to 2020 in this century, are we enough pragmatic? Are we enough rational? The estimated figures of Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, are even higher than this 4.7 million hectares. How do we look at the biodiversity and its importance? How do we look at the increasing number of threatened species which are on the verge of extinction? So, there remains a question about the wisdom of modern man. Man, the wiser, wiser. Homo sapiens sapiens. In the northern mountain ranges of India and even some part of northeast mountains in Sikkim, there is a plant, there is a gymnosperm called Ephedra gerardiana. So this Ephedra plant, there are almost 70 different species of this plant existing today. This plant has been an important component of the yajna system of Vedic civilization. This plant is called Somalata, and there comes a reference of Somarasa or Som Yag, etc. in Vedic civilization. This plant, Ephedra, is called Somalata. And it is found at a height of approximately 3,000 to 4,000 meters in the mountains. Its variety found in Sikkim forests. Name of that variety is Sikkimensis, Ephedra gerardiana sikkimensis. So this plant, this points towards the revered approach of Indians in past towards the forests and the various different types of forests, various different plants in the forests. Gymnosperms, they are ubiquitous. They are found in variety of different environments, and one of them is even desert also. In desert, cycads are found. They are xerophytic. Cycas, the sago palm, this belongs to gymnosperm. In botany, we classify two main types of plants. Those are non-spermatophyta, means the plants which do not produce seeds, and the second one is spermatophyta, the plants which really produce the seeds. Algae, bryophyta, and pteridophyta, these three groups are non-spermatophyta. They do not produce seed. But gymnosperms and angiosperms, they are spermatophyta, they produce seeds. These plants, gymnosperms, they do not have any fruit. See, when the double fertilization takes place after pollination, by any means, the pollen grain is transferred to the stigma or gynoecium of a flowering plant. One of the male gametes produced by the pollen grain that fertilizes the female gamete, and the other one fertilizes the secondary nucleus. This process we call as double fertilization. And after that, the ovary ripens into fruit, and the ovule inside the ovary that ripens into seed. So usually in flowering plants, seeds are enclosed inside the fruits. But that is not the case in gymnosperms. In gymnosperms, the pollen grain directly falls on the ovule because this ovule is not covered by any ovary. And that is the reason this is called direct pollination. Once this direct pollination has taken place, then the ovule ripens into seed, but there is no ovary. So the plant bears only seeds. Gymno is a word that means uncovered, which is not having any covering, any wall. And that is why these plants are called gymnosperms, because they bear seeds without fruits. Ephedra is also an example of gymnosperm. Gymnosperms contribute to almost 40% of forest cover on this planet. They are much important from the point of view of soil health also. Gymnosperms like Cycas, they are found in xeric conditions. They are xerophytes. They are found in desert conditions. And these plants, which are slow growing trees, sporophytes, they have palm like leaves at the top. And that is the reason they are called sago palm. Cycas is called sago palm. Palm is actually an angiosperm. To call Cycas as sago palm is just like calling a jellyfish a fish. That is a misnomer again. Sago palms are not true palms because they are gymnosperms and palms are angiosperms. So these palms, these sago palms, which are gymnosperms, Cycas plant, this plant, it bears a taproot system. As we know in botany, that taproot is a root that develops from the radical in the seed. When the root formation takes place from the seed, the radical inside the seed, then it is called taproot. And any other kind of root is called adventitious root. So Cycas has a well-developed taproot system, a tapering kind of root that penetrates into the soil in geotropic manner. Tropic means towards. Even in anatomy, we use such words while defining some hormones. Somatotropic hormone, adrenocorticotropic hormone, means the hormone goes to that specific part. So geotropism is movement of root towards the earth, deeper into earth, and that is why that is called positively geotropic. There is one more type of root found in Cycas, and this root is actually resembling a coral. So, in these coralloid roots of Cycas, there is found a nitrogen fixing bacterium. This nitrogen fixing bacterium is Anabaena cycadi, a cyanobacterium, a blue-green algae. This Anabaena, it transforms the atmospheric nitrogen and converts that into ammonia and further into its salts. So this can assimilate into the plant. As we know that nitrogen is a molecule having two nitrogen atoms, and there are three bonds which link these two nitrogen atoms, and that is why that is difficult to break. In simple words, nitrogen is poorly reactive. That is the reason when nitrogen enters through the stomata inside the leaves, that nitrogen does not assimilate into the reactions taking place into the cell. Although more than 70% in atmosphere, this nitrogen is useless when it enters through the leaves. So roots have to absorb this. At the beginning of 20th century, there came a process called Haber's process. That was a period which was period of peak of industrialization. The industrial revolution has brought lot of transformation, and that was energy hungry, that required lot of energy. Specifically in this production of conversion of nitrogen into ammonia, the energy required is almost 400 to 500 degrees Celsius, while the pressure that is needed, that is approximately some 200 atmospheres. This made it possible that there developed some industries of fertilizers which could add nitrogen into the soil. But in nature, there are bacteria which do this job, which continue to do this job from millions of years. Only the science behind this process was not understood properly at the beginning. The science required for this process that was deciphered by a scientist, Martinus Beijerinck. Beijerinck is one of the very important uh, scientists in the history of science. He is known for his two major breakthroughs, his two major discoveries. The first one is Contagium fluidum vivum, a filter passed organism which we call today as virus. And the second contribution of Beijerinck was he coined the term diazotrophy and explained that. See, this term azo, it means nitrogen. There is a type of chemical fertilizer that contains 3 nitrogen, and that is why it is C3H3N3. It is called triazine. Azo means nitrogen. The bacteria in the soil which fix nitrogen, they are called azotobacter. Azo means nitrogen. So what is this diazotrophy then? Diazotrophy is the process of biological nitrogen fixation. It is conversion of atmospheric nitrogen from the poorly reactive nitrogen to the ammonia. This process is aided by an enzyme that is nitrogenase. And this process of conversion of nitrogen into ammonia using a biological agent is known as diazotrophy. So, Beijerinck is known for diazotrophy. Anamida cycadi is a cyanobacterium. This process in Cycas is diazotrophy, that is conversion of atmospheric nitrogen into ammonia, and that form those molecular forms, those ions, which can assimilate into the cells of Cycas or cells of different tissues of Cycas. So this is also an example of symbiotic association. As we see in legumes, leguminous plants, the plants belonging to family Fabaceae, these plants have tap roots, of course, they are dicots, and these tap roots in these plants, they bear nodules, small nodules on them. These root nodules are actually proliferated tissues from the root cortex, where bacteria have proliferated, making their own colonies and even sharing of the genome sometimes. So these root nodules, they contain colonies of nitrogen fixing bacteria. That is also a process of diazotrophy. Symbiotic association is an important approach, particularly mutualistic. The mutualism part of symbiosis is extremely necessary to be understood in biology when we are learning the community aspect of biology, specifically ecology also. Thanks for listening me so kindly. This is Lakshmi Raman Oza, and you were watching SBTL webcasts.